In August 2022, in a quiet townhouse in Omaha, I was shelling sweet corn at the kitchen sink when my phone chimed 3 times in a row. It was a new number, a string of photos, and a line that said, "Miss you already, my son and his new wife were 3 days into their honeymoon in Branson." I assumed it was a cousin sending a group shot. It wasn't. I stood there with wet hands, watching the screen bloom with images that didn't belong to me. Faces, a mirror, a hotel room I recognized from the discount chain off Highway 65, and a man's shoulder that wasn't my son's. I didn't shout. I set the corn down, rinsed the knife, and let the water run until it turned cold. Silence tells you what you're ready to hear. The week before the wedding, I'd spent 2 evenings sewing the hem of her dress. She worked at a large church downtown, director of young families, she'd told us, and she had a calendar full of retreats, potlucks, and early Sunday meetings. She was brisk, efficient, and very good at being watched, someone who knew where to stand when cameras came out. My son, Michael, is an engineer. He has the steadiness of a surveyor, always checking a line, measuring twice. He'd saved for this marriage the way some people save for a storm. In the morning they left, he hugged me and said, "Back Saturday. Text you when we stop." She air-kissed my cheek and laughed when the rental car alarm chirped. The house was quiet again by noon. I put away folding chairs and stacked the catering trays, the small after-chores that feel like closing a book. 3 days later, the photos arrived. They were not cinematic or clever. They looked like what they were: careless, close, meant for someone else. I scrolled once, then again, and then I set the phone down on the counter. The faucet hissed, and I watched a curl of steam lift and disappear. I remember thinking, this is a beginning disguised as an ending. By evening the sender texted, "Delete those, Lil," and then, "Sorry, wrong thread." I typed nothing at all. When they came back that Saturday, there were details that didn't add up. The rental car smelled like perfume I didn't recognize, something sweet with a sharp spray. Her tan lines didn't match the sandals she'd left in my foyer. He kept reaching for her hand and missing, a half gesture cut short. She mentioned work 3 times over lunch. "Pastor Elaine wants a debrief," she said. "We're rolling out a fall series. New couples." Vulnerability, the word sat in the air like a bead of water on wax. She had a habit of setting her phone face down, then remembering it and slipping it into her back pocket. That week, Michael called me to ask about a crockpot. "She's got a Wednesday potluck," he said. "Can you send your chili recipe?" I sent it, and at the bottom I wrote, "How are you sleeping?" He replied, "Good." Mostly, at the end of the month, he forgot to send me his usual spreadsheet for our joint family cell plan. It seemed small, but I noticed. He notices numbers. I notice what breaks their rhythm. By mid-September, she began leaving early on Sundays. Pre-service briefing, she'd say, coffee in a travel mug, lanyard on. Michael would arrive later, alone, sit beside me, and sing under his breath. Afterward, she'd be in the foyer surrounded by young couples, her laugh pitched slightly higher than the room. I kept my silence in a drawer like a document. I do not chase shadows. I wait for the light. In October, it arrived plain as a receipt. The church sent a newsletter with a photo recap of Young Marriages Retreat, Building Brutal Honesty. There she was in a group picture, standing close to a man in a denim shirt. His shoulder was unmistakable, the same small birthmark near the collarbone that I had seen in the mirror shot from Branson. The caption identified him as Thomas R., worship lead, guest facilitator. That week I went to the church website and clicked through staff bios. His last name was there, and so was his Instagram handle. A public account, full of guitar pedals and sunrise verses. In September, he had posted a story from a hotel room with the same curtains as the honeymoon suite. The timestamp was visible in the reflection of a TV screen, 12:47 a.m. The hotel chain's stylized lamp appeared in the edge of the frame. It was the lamp I had dusted in that Branson lobby while waiting for our family room assignment 3 summers earlier. I scrolled back to the August text. The photos were still in my phone. Metadata lives where people forget it does. I saved each file, unedited, and I named them by date and time. I didn't create anything, I preserved what was already there. When you've lived long enough, You learn that proof doesn't need your commentary. It just needs a safe place to sit. By late October, the days thinned. The trees along our street turned the kind of yellow that looks like evening even at noon. I began keeping a simple notebook, a legal pad with a stiff back, blue lines, and a clip. I wrote dates and what I saw, nothing more. 10:14, 6:40 a.m. She leaves in gym clothes, tote bag, and doesn't return until 9:15, 10:22. Church livestream shows him leading worship. Her IG story shows planning session at 10:36 a.m. across town. I printed my phone records and marked her stray texts that arrived at odd hours, as if she forgot who she was writing to. I did not tell my son. I am his mother, not his warden. I prayed the old simple prayer, make truth useful, and then I did something I hadn't done since childhood. I attended the early service alone, sat near the back left pillar, and watched how she and Thomas moved when they thought they were in the background. They did not touch. He watched her when she laughed, then looked down at his shoes. She watched him when he spoke, then smoothed her blouse. Two people acting like strangers who know too much. By autumn, I had everything I needed. Not a scandal, a pattern. Not rumors, records. I looked up Director of Human Resources, St. Andrew's Church, and found a name, Abigail Marsh. The staff page listed a secure email format. I drafted a letter and didn't send it. I waited one full week. During that week, I baked a pie, mailed a birthday card, and kept my phone in a drawer. Waiting is a discipline. It keeps you from using pain as fuel. On November 3rd, after the early frost, I sent a single email to Abigail Marsh. I wrote, "Dear Ms. Marsh, my name is Elaine Hart. I have been a member in good standing since 1998. I am writing regarding potential violations of your staff conduct policy involving Lily Hart, Director, Young Families, and Thomas R., Worship Lead. The enclosed files are not altered. They were sent to me in error on August 9, 2022, during my son's honeymoon. The metadata is intact. I understand the sensitivity of this information and the potential reputational harm to the church. I am not seeking publicity, revenge, or money. I am seeking accountability and clarity so my son can make informed decisions. I request a discreet, internal review per your policy. Kindly confirm receipt." I attached the files and my short log, dates, times, links, and screenshots of the public posts. I did not speculate. I did not accuse. I simply forwarded what had already been sent to me. Within 2 hours, I received a professional reply. "Thank you, Ms. Hart. We will review per policy and maintain confidentiality." 2 days later, an additional message. "We have initiated a formal inquiry. Please do not discuss this matter with other staff." I said nothing to anyone. The following Sunday, the worship bulletin listed a guest musician. Thomas was on leave. Lily stood on stage to welcome visitors, but her voice shook once on the word community. I felt neither joy nor triumph. What I felt was a chair being righted after one short leg had been planned to size. Balance hums, that's all. Church discipline is slow and procedural, as it should be. There were interviews, then a Sunday when Pastor Elaine addressed the importance of boundaries in leadership. Names were not used, but the hallways adjusted, as they always do when something shifts under the carpet. At home, Michael noticed first that his wife had started sleeping on the couch, saying, "I don't want to wake you when I get up early." He called me on a Tuesday night and said, "Mom, something's off." I said only, "When you're ready, I'm here." 2 weeks later, he found an email thread on their shared laptop, an exchange between Lily and a church board member, referencing the investigation and workplace relationship. He didn't raise his voice. He forwarded it to himself and drove to my house. We sat at the kitchen table. I put the kettle on. I told him then, everything, gently and in order. I showed him the August text, the photos, the logs, and the emails to HR. He pressed his hands together, knuckles white. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. I said, "Because you deserved facts, not fear." He nodded. "Thank you," he said after a minute, voice low. I needed a clean line to cut along. The next day, he met with a lawyer. Nebraska is no fault, but facts matter. He changed passwords, moved half the savings to a separate account per council, and made a list. Keep it boring, his lawyer advised. Boring wins. 2 weeks later, the papers were signed and served. She moved into a friend's apartment near the church. I helped him box the kitchen. I labeled a carton, cooking utensils, and another pans. We worked in silence, the practical kind. As for the church, they announced a staff reorganization in December. Lily's position was transitioned. Thomas resigned to pursue new opportunities. There was no spectacle. There were no names. But people in pews noticed gaps. In March, snow thawed along the gutters and the tulips snapped awake without asking anyone's permission. Michael comes by on Sunday evenings now with a brown paper bag of groceries and a list of recipes he wants to try. He is thinner. He is gentler with himself. Sometimes he looks up from the cutting board and says, "I miss this," and I know he means steadiness. She sent one message in April. "I'm sorry for how it ended." I typed a reply, "I hope you find peace," then deleted it and wrote, "Take care." I pressed send and set the phone face down on the table. He still doesn't know who sent the file. The church never said, and I didn't either. Some truths are surgical. You don't show the blade afterward. I have learned that revenge is the wrong word for what I did. I forwarded an error to the place built to handle errors. I let a system do its work so my son could do his. On quiet afternoons, I open the kitchen window and listen to distant lawnmowers stitch lines through grass. The world, when tended, remembers how to be even. Every story here will stir your soul. Welcome to Spice and Sugar, your daily escape into real emotions, bold lives, and unforgettable lessons. Here, it's all about love, loss, laughter, and the quiet strength that carries us through. I share stories that make you feel, that remind you you're not alone, that every bitter moment can lead to something sweet. If you want to laugh, cry, and see life through stories that heal and inspire, subscribe and stay a while.